Apple have just announced their new 12.9-inch iPad Pro powered by the M1 chip. In this video, I'd like to go through a comparison of the iPad Pro and the MacBook Air, which was released a few months ago. I know it's not really an apples to apples comparison, more to apples to oranges. One's a tablet, one's a laptop. But in terms of the spec, they're pretty similar. They both have the same chipset. They're both from the same manufacturer. They're around the same price. So I just want to do a comparison and see what the major differences are. So we'll start with pricing. The MacBook Air starts at $14.99, which is a fairly good price for a high-end laptop with the M1 chipset. I wouldn't really pay that for any other brand really, unless you're doing like high-end gaming or high-end video processing. But I think a lot of people use Macs as their main go-to for video and photo editing and things like that, just because they're designed around it really. And then we've got the new M1 iPad Pro, which retails at $16.49. This is a very steep price for an iPad. Like you get a lot, but you also only get a tablet. You can compare that to the older iPads, $500 they were 10 years ago. Very basic obviously, but they were leading edge at the time. I don't see myself paying that much money for a tablet. I'd rather splash out on an M1 MacBook Air or an M1 iMac, the new released M1 iMac. But some people may find convenience in carrying a tablet over carrying a laptop, which is a bit heavier, as we'll see in the comparison. When it comes to memory, the MacBook Air has 16 gigabytes of unified memory, whereas the iPad Pro has only 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's half as much, but 8 gig for a tablet is good in my book. When it comes to storage, obviously Apple do their thing where they give you a baseline amount of storage, and then every time you want to double that storage, they add an extra $200 on. The list goes on. There's like 5 different variants of storage capabilities on these MacBooks and iPads and things like that, so we won't go into detail of the pricing structure. This is just the baseline models I'm comparing right now. So as I said, the storage on the MacBook Air is 256 gigabytes, and on the iPad Pro it's only 128, but you generally wouldn't have larger files on an iPad. I presume that's their method in their thinking. Now when it comes to battery life, this is quite a big thing, but quite a big difference between the two. So your MacBook Air will give you, as stated by Apple, 18 hours of work time. That's a lot of time. That's two days of work really. Maybe on the train ride home or in the evening as well. So you've got like 2 days worth of battery power on your MacBook Air. And then they've got the new iPad Pro, which only has a 10-hour battery life. But then again, you wouldn't be using the iPad Pro for long durations, I guess. I would see more of a tablet as like a pick up and go and move around sort of thing. So you wouldn't be using it as long because you wouldn't be holding it all day, would you? One thing I did notice though is that the new iPad Pro has optional accessories such as a keyboard and things like that. So it basically turns it into like a MacBook, but obviously a lighter MacBook with less battery power and less memory. But depends what you want it for really. I'll leave it up to you guys. One of the things the iPad Pro does do better in this list of things I've got to compare is the camera. It has a 12 megapixel front-facing camera. Like that's, for front-facing cameras, that's pretty good. But then you got to compare that with the 720p FaceTime camera on the MacBook Air. It's 720p FaceTime camera, they're acting like it's a big deal. Like 720p, that's 1 megapixel. Come on Apple, up your game. And now if you're using this thing, carrying it around quite a lot, you want to know the weight of it. So the MacBook Air, although you generally don't carry it around or hold it in your hand, you sort of like obviously rest it on things, stuff like that. That comes in at 1.29 kilograms. So it's fairly light for like a high-powered laptop, I would say. And you wouldn't really be carrying it around maybe in your bag, and you wouldn't really notice a kilo in your bag. But the iPad Pro comes in at just over half that weight, weighing around 680 grams. Although that is heavy as an iPad Pro, you wouldn't be like reading with it, I guess. You'd be like, you have it on your lap or you rest it somewhere, so the weight wouldn't really come into a factor, I guess. I couldn't see myself holding up an iPad Pro like probably like big as this thing here, just reading on it. It's overkill really. I'd rather have a computer screen or a laptop to look at. And one of the things I like to use, as you can see, I've got my Chromebook down here, Google Pixelbook from 4 years ago, not the latest one, but still pretty good, is I use touchscreen quite a lot. I find the touchscreen is easier to use when doing like day-to-day tasks. It's just a tiny trackpad on these new laptops, and I find using the touchscreen easier to scroll, to enter text boxes, things like that. So I think the iPad Pro, like paired with a keyboard and mouse, would be good and would be more efficient than just having the small trackpad on a laptop. That's just my 2 cents anyway. So yeah, that was just a quick breakdown of the new iPad Pro 12.9 inch with the M1 processor in comparison with the 13-inch MacBook Air with the M1 chipset. So I hope you like this video. Please leave a comment below what you think the difference is and whether you prefer to go with the more expensive MacBook Pro or the cheaper MacBook Air. And don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date. Many thanks guys, see you on the next one.